Okay. Hi, Lynn. Okay, thank you very much for being here this evening. And I think we have a small enough crew where we could maybe let's introduce the members of the committee. And it's Mark, it's your meeting right now, actually.
Oh, it is? Okay. I didn't. Okay.
It's an
So,
MTAC membership meeting.
yeah, okay. So welcome to the special urgent meeting, membership meeting tonight. Welcome everybody. The agenda tonight has one item on it. Um, and that item is to talk about the middle income housing. Yeah, middle income housing recommendation from the community plan steering committee. And they are planning to present what the work that they've done on this evening. And at the conclusion of that this evening, we will need to have a vote of the membership in terms of whether the membership wants to vote yes for that recommendation or no for that recommendation. And then we forward that on to Tillamook County for consideration with the Board of County Commissioners and the Planning Committee and so on. The well, that's a point of that's what we're doing tonight at the meeting. I was going to say something. That's it. Yeah, I think that's.
So Mark, I have some prepared stuff, so
Yeah,
it
okay.
would be what you're thinking of, I might include it
Okay.
in that. So if you
Okay.
turn over I can do the introduction, etc.
Yeah, okay, okay. I knew you had this, you're well prepared for this, Rand. So I'll kick off the meeting and then I'll turn it over to the committee and you guys can take it from there.
All right. Is that now?
Yes, it is.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah,
All
sorry about
right. So this, as Mark is mentioning, this meeting is to finalize our SB 406 Neskowin Preferred Approach to Middle Housing. This is Neskowin's opportunity to have input into what will be submitted by the Tillamook County Community Development Office to the Planning Commission for hearings and ultimately recommendation to the county commissioners. The NCAC will have two more opportunities to comment on middle housing ordinances as they pertain to Neskowin at the Planning Commission and at the Board of County Commissioners hearings to review and approve these changes. Since input during the hearings process is limited in time and scope, our best opportunity to influence what is submitted for hearings is now, and our committee needs your final input tonight before we send the county our preferences for change. The agenda includes feedback and also the vote, as Mark mentioned. So if you have prepared for this meeting and read the documents, you may have questions, on your mind, even just beginning this meeting. What we'd like to do, excuse me, is to read through the document. And if you have a question for that section, just get our attention, raise your hand or speak up, and we'll note that there's a question for that section. We will note that I have printed out the document and I'll just say question here. We'll keep reading the document so everyone has heard the document all the way through before we start going through the questions. So we'll go back then in chronological order and go to the questions that you have, if you have those in advance. But we want to have you on record as hearing the complete document, and then we'll hear the questions and respond to that, and the document may change on the basis of that. So Tom has prepared a really great introduction to help you understand what this document is at this point in time, since it's not a finished document. So, Tom, would you please have the introduction read by your pal?
Let me share
Okay,
if I
thank you.
can. Okay. Well, first thing I should do is, for those of you who worked ahead and read the document, I did change it. I was going through it this afternoon and saw a number of things that were either missed or not quite complete. But it's been on the library for over an hour now. But I do have a pointer in the chat to the documents so that you can download them as we speak, or actually as Word speaks. Because rather than having me go through this, I've discovered that uh, Word will actually read things out loud and not do too bad of a job of it. One thing that I won't have it read that I'll read you to you is what changed in R1, and I try to make it pretty clear as to what did change. Um, the subsequent, as I said, the review of it, I found things that weren't that we had thought about and written down, but didn't get into this document. Um, any changes that other than minor editorial fixes, like I think there was an outline thing that was had an entire paragraph in it. Uh, minor editorial fixes are not highlighted, but things that are substantial are. So those may be the difference. The previous highlights were things that we wanted to talk about, uh, and I've removed those highlights except for those where we have missing information. And all of the document will be cleaned up. So what I'll do is, uh, before I forget, is I'll do a save as. That is my custom to do that. And if we can, we will do a live edit of questions and resolutions. Okay. Any questions for me before we jump into this new world of Microsoft reading us things? Okay, hearing nothing, we'll go ahead. And I'll do it a section at a time. You want me to go all the way through? I guess I can do that. I did
Well,
that. I did that
what
earlier.
I'd like
It's
to
about
do-
about a 22-minute read.
Okay,
Before you start, could I just ask, I think we may have a quorum at this point.
okay. I can't see everyone with the screen up like that, but
And minus Sarah, unless you can vote, Sarah, can you vote?
No,
I don't think so.
Okay.
Laney's here, and
I-
you said Michael's here also?
Yeah,
I
Michael
counted-
joined us.
I counted 16 and we need
Okay.
15.
Okay, right,
So
well, good. Well, hang in there, people.
that's what my count was.
So I think you
Hang
can
in there, we
certify,
need you.
Mark.
Pardon me?
I think you can certify a quorum.
Yeah,
You
we have a
just say aye.
quorum. Yeah, I certify a quorum, yeah.
All right, thank you. Thank you for the question.
Okay. So like I said, it's about a 22-minute read. So we'll see.
The Community Plan Steering Subcommittee, CPSS, of the Neskowin Community
Oh, we can't hear it very loud.
has prepared this.
Or,
I couldn't hear that very loudly. It was
uh-oh.
pretty faint. Can other people hear it? No,
barely.
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 So I think we need to
Ah.
start over with a little more volume.
Wonder how the heck I do that.
I can hear you fine, Tom. It
Yeah,
just
your volume's
was
good.
Barbara, I think I couldn't hear.
Well, the problem is that I can hear me. I can hear the
So it's your computer's talking it to us, right?
yeah,
Yeah,
so I can perhaps,
Take your headset off and put it right next to it or something?
yeah, because otherwise because I hear it full volume, and if I have it so you can hear it, it's
oh,
gonna
you're
blow me out of the
blast
water.
yourself out.
Okay, I'll try this. Okay.
process of understanding the implications and impact of the new housing law has been hampered by the delay.
Not any better.
Yeah. Well, we might have to take turns reading.
All right. That's because I didn't change anything. All right. I'm looking for, I'm going to have to stop sharing. Oh, there it is. I was looking for the audio.
Can you hear me?
Yeah,
And
Michael.
Would
Does
you like
not
for me to
have audio
start? I'll
setting.
be glad to
I
start.
can hear you, Tom.
I know you're hearing me, but the problem was with the computer.
So Michael's volunteered to start.
Well, my plan didn't work, so I think
Oh,
I'm going
that's
to have
okay. That's okay. It's so much for those things. Sometimes they, we know, sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. Michael, if you start, and then maybe let us know when you're,
When
when you're
I'm, yeah, okay. I just had a bite of ice cream, so my throat is nice and ready to go.
okay.
Introduction. The Community Plan Steering Committee of the Neskowin Community Advisory Committee has prepared this preliminary input to the process of establishing middle housing in our community. The process of understanding the implications and impact of the new housing law has been hampered by the delay of obtaining clear information about the latitude allowed in implementation Bill 406. The delay in the process has prevented the Community Plan Steering Committee from fully vetting the approach recommended by this document. The text of this document is largely taken from the document, quote, Neskowin multifamily dwellings and, quote, cottage clusters development standards given to the CPSS on March 29th by the Director of Community Development, Sarah Absher. The CPSS has reformatted that document for readability and has modified or deleted parts of it to conform to our understanding of the community's preferences. The Neskowin CAC members attending an urgent meeting have approved this document, but there has not been time for the full membership to properly consider this important matter. It is possible that the NCAC final recommendations may differ, possibly substantially so.
And that's my caveat there. I don't think we need to read that.
Okay.
Basically, I rewrote it because I didn't think it was
Very well
it was an outline form, and that's harder to read when you have multiple levels of
Right. Yeah,
outline.
14
Okay.
or 9
Yeah.
or whatever. Okay. Approach to middle housing preliminary. One aspect of Neskowin's value, family-focused and education-minded values is increasing the availability of middle housing. Having housing for working families is important. Senate Bill 406 requires certain cities and communities in Tillamook County to allow middle housing or on residential zoned lands to adopt housing production strategies and to accommodate estimated housing needs upon lands inventoried as buildable lands. The zones for our community that are impacted are Neskowin R1, R3, and RR. See the Appendix A. Definitions. Here are a few definitions folded into the TCLUA Article 10 definition section of the county's ordinance. These definitions have been edited to reflect Neskowin's preferences. Middle housing includes duplexes, triplexes, quadplexes, cottage clusters, and townhouses. Middle housing land division. A partition or subdivision of a lot parcel on which the development of middle housing is allowed. Cottage, an individual dwelling unit that is part of a cottage cluster. Cottage clusters, a group of no fewer than 3 detached housing dwelling units with a footprint of less than 900 square feet. Located on a single lot or parcel that includes a common courtyard. Dwelling, multifamily.
Michael,
Yes.
can I just pause for just a minute?
Yes, go ahead. Go
Ask
ahead,
Rand a
Lynn. Go ahead,
question.
Lynn. Yeah.
2 issues. We didn't discuss, Rand, when and how you want feedback on this various components. I wasn't clear from the email this afternoon Whether we're going to do it page by page and make sure everyone's good with that page, I'm indifferent as to how we do it, but it would be helpful to know when comments are going to be received. Secondly, it's kind of a glaring and I'm sure we've had our nose so close to this we missed it, but we want to be abundantly clear, and probably on that front page, there is no funding for middle housing in Neskowin or at the county or at the state. These are all to develop standards for private developers, should they choose to develop this housing. And I think we need to be really clear about this, because it has a tone like we're going to go out and get middle housing. Middle housing will have to come from people who decide to develop. And so that's an obvious thing, but it may not be obvious to all participants and should be in that first page in some format. Thank you.
Okay.
Also, just to add on to that, this is a goal by the state of a way that property could potentially be built on and in an affordable way for a middle income person or a person working in the community could afford to purchase at the regular wage. But there is no guarantee that these standards will be used for housing for a working family. They could very well be, a developer might use these standards and develop it, and they could all be purchased by vacation homeowners.
Thank you,
And-
Lori.
Yeah.
Okay, so the way we described people could ask questions was section by section. So that's
Not quite done with that section yet, but we're close.
right. But what I'm saying that the question is, where do they notify? Since the screen is filled with the document we're reading, I think it's going to have to be in the chat, and Nancy's going to help me keep track of where when the questions come in, and we will want to note where that is in the document so we can go back to the thing and do it in a chronological order. So it's a bit of a challenge. I have the document printed out. If I see a question and we notice a question, I'll mark where it is in the document, and then when we'll come back after we've read all the way through it. Otherwise, we might never read all the way through the document tonight. And I want to be on record that everyone heard the entire document. We might need another urgent meeting. I don't know if we can't do all of this in 2 hours, or we might go over. But I hope you'll be patient with the process. I think that should work for tracking the questions and for getting through the entire document. The committee members tonight are Lynn Saxton, Lori Kovac, Tom Seep, and I can't see if Guy Sievert is here, but he's the other member of the committee, and I'm Rand Cook, and I'm the chair. So that's the introduction of the subcommittee members. So
Rand, sorry, I didn't realize I'm doing the chat, so I'm happy to. Since I am, let me just mention that Barbara Triplett says that Bill is watching too, and Lynn Wintermute said that Barry Dragoon is here also, and Lynn's connection, and Gary says Laney is here too. So I think
he's here too.
Okay.
All right. Thank you. All right, Michael, you got to have another scoop of ice cream.
I just did. Thanks, Rand. Yeah, it's really good. It's chocolate pretzel.
Oh my. You need beer with that? Oh, never mind.
Okay,
Yeah.
you got a little bit left on this, and then we can go back.
Yes. Okay, dwelling single family is where we were.
Yeah.
Oh, no, back up one more. There you go. Okay, cottage clusters. Let's just do that again. A grouping of no fewer than 3 detached housing dwellings with a footprint of less than 900 square feet each, located on a single lot or parcel that includes a common courtyard. The next one, dwelling, multifamily dwelling, a structure or structures with 5 or more dwelling units in any attached or detached configuration on one lot or parcel. Middle housing is not considered a multifamily dwelling. multifamily dwellings do not apply to Neskowin. Dwelling, single family, a single dwelling unit on one lot or parcel. Dwelling, two-family duplex, a structure containing two attached dwelling units on one lot or parcel. A single-family dwelling and an accessory dwelling unit are not considered a duplex. Duplex, three-family, triplex, dwelling, three-family, triplex, a structure designed and used for residential purposes containing three attached dwelling units on one lot or parcel. Dwelling quadruplex, a structure containing four attached dwelling units on one lot or parcel. Dwelling unit, one or more rooms, designed for residential occupancy and not having more than one cooking facility. Townhouse, a townhouse is a single-family dwelling unit constructed in a row of attached units separated by property lines with open space on at least two sides. Next section, general requirements. This section applies to all middle housing categories except duplexes, which have existing codes. Open space, at least 50% of the required open space shall be designed to be usable by the residents of the development. This can be in the form of lawns or outdoor play areas or swimming pools or patios or decks or a natural area. Structures shall meet the lot coverage, open area, and where applicable, common open space requirements of the zone in which they are located. Vehicles, parking areas are landscaped and separated into no more than 5 spaces per bay and are not located between front building facade and the street and are buffered from surrounding residential use or low intensity uses. Traffic is routed onto an existing or planned arterial or collector street, and safety of ingress and egress is important. Driveways shall meet the minimum separation and width required by the Tillamook County Public Works Department. Next section, solid waste facilities. All middle housing developments shall meet the following standards. Waste storage and/or recycling containers shall be fully screened from view from a public or private street. Screening from public view for waste storage and/or recycling containers shall be constructed a minimum of 1 foot higher than the feature to be screened and shall be accomplished by one or more of the following methods. Number 1, solid wall construction of an interior finish material utilized on one or more structures. Number 2, a hedge with a minimum of 95% opacity within 2 years. Whoa. Number 3, solid wood fence. Number 4, screening from public view by chain link fence with or without slats is prohibited. Next section, size options. R1 and R3 zones, 17 feet height, 900 square feet maximum, preserves a, quote, village feel, unquote. Neskowin RR zone, 24 feet high, 1,200 square feet maximum, and acknowledges topology.
Topography. Oh, topology, yeah.
The lay of the land. How's that?
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, the next section is on cottage cluster development standards. Cottage cluster shall meet the development standards of the applicable base zone with the following exceptions. 1, no maximum lot coverage shall apply to cottage clusters. Number 2, minimum open area, minimum landscaped open area, and minimum common open space shall not apply to cottage clusters. Number 3, minimum front yard back setback shall be 10 feet in all zones. Number 4, units shall not exceed 17 feet in height. That is in Neskowin R1 and R3. And number 5 is minimum of 3 units up to 8 units allowed outright. Building separations for cottages shall be separated by a minimum distance of 10 feet. The minimum distance between all other structures, including accessory structures, shall be in accordance with building code requirements. Unit size, the maximum floor area for a dwelling unit in a cottage cluster is 900 square feet for R1 and R3. Off-street parking, a minimum number of required off-street parking spaces for a cottage cluster project is 1 space per unit. Spaces may be provided at individual cottages or in shared parking clusters. Next section, design standards. Cottage clusters shall meet the design standards in this subsection. All other design standards shall apply to cottage clusters unless noted in this section. Mandates for construction of a garage or a carport or any other design standards are invalid, except as specified here. Cottage orientations shall be clustered around a common courtyard, meaning they abut the associated common courtyard or are directly connected to it by a pedestrian path and must meet the following standards. Each cottage within the cluster shall either abut the common courtyard or shall be directly connected by a pedestrian path. Number 2, a minimum of 50% of cottages within the cluster shall be oriented to the common courtyard and shall A, have a main entrance facing the common courtyard, or B, be within 10 feet of the common courtyard measured by the facade of the cottage at the nearest edge of the common courtyard, and C, be connected to the courtyard by a pedestrian path. Number 3, cottages within 20 feet of the street property line shall have entrances facing the street. Number 4, cottages not facing the common courtyard or street shall have their main entrances facing a pedestrian path that is directly connected to the common courtyard.
The box in there is probably not readable for most people. So what I've done is I've extracted that for these 2 slides.
Okay. And this is what I just read. And so there's a nice photo or graphic there that shows how some of them are directly connected to the common courtyard or are connected by pathways. And then there's a carport to the right, or driveway, that is, and garages and so on.
Okay.
Really interesting. We're selling a property in Corvallis, and they're going to be changing that property into a cottage cluster. So this is good. I'm enjoying this.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So that's the second one. Basically,
Yes.
it's the same thing, but I just want to make sure, in the interest of transparency, what this says.
Yes. Okay.
I just want to mention that Guy Siebert has joined us.
Hi, Guy.
Hey, guy.
Okay, next section, common courtyard design standards. Each cottage cluster shall have a common courtyard in order to provide a sense of openness and community of residents. Common courtyards shall meet the following standards. Common courtyard shall be a single, contiguous piece. Cottages shall abut the common courtyard on at least 2 sides of the courtyard. The common courtyard shall contain a minimum of 150 square feet per cottage within the associated cluster. The common courtyard shall be a minimum of 15 feet wide at its narrowest dimension. The common courtyard shall be developed with a mix of landscape, lawn area, pedestrian paths, paved courtyard area, may also include recreational amenities. Impervious elements of the courtyard shall not exceed 75% of the total common courtyard area. Pedestrian paths shall be included in a common courtyard. Paths that are contiguous to the courtyard shall count toward the courtyard's minimum dimension and area. Parking areas required setbacks and driveways do not qualify as part of the common courtyard. All units shall be freestanding with no common walls between the units. Pedestrian access. An accessible pedestrian path shall be provided that connects the main entrance of each cottage to the following: A, the common courtyard; B, shared parking areas; C, scratched out; D, sidewalks in public rights of way abutting the site, or rights of way if there are no sidewalks. The pedestrian path shall be hard surfaced and a minimum of 4 feet wide. Parking design, clustered parking. Off-street parking may be arranged in clusters subject to the following standards: cottage cluster. Peter Piper picked a pickle. Cottage cluster projects with fewer than 6 are permitted parking clusters of not more than 5 continuous spaces. Scratch B. C. Parking clusters shall be separated from other spaces by at least 4 feet of landscaping. Clustered parking areas may be covered. Parking location and access. Off-street parking and vehicle maneuvering shall not be located within 10 feet of any street property line except alley property lines. Between a street property line and the front facade of cottages located closest to the street property line, this standard does not apply to alleys. Off-street parking shall not be located within 10 feet of any other property line except alley property lines. Driveways and drive aisles are permitted within 10 feet of other property lines. Screening, landscaping, fencing, walls at least 3 feet tall shall separate clustered parking areas and parking structures from common courtyards and public streets. Garage and carports. Garage and carports, whether shared or individual, shall not abut common courtyards. Individual attached garages up to 200 square feet shall be exempted from the calculation of maximum building footprint for cottages. Individual detached garages shall not exceed 400 square feet in floor area. Garage doors for attached and detached individual garages shall not exceed 20 feet in width. Accessory structures shall not exceed 400 square feet in floor area other than a garage or a carport are not allowed. Existing structures on, I'm going to go back there once, and it was a little unclear to me. Accessory structures. Accessory structures shall not exceed 400 square feet in floor area other than a garage or carport are not allowed. That's unclear to me.
Yeah.
Something that's not to exceed is not allowed. Don't know.
I-
Let's yeah, that
Is
needs
that
to be.
like a shed?
Well,
This
it's like
is
a
Lori.
tool shed, yeah, a tool shed or something like that.
This is Lori. I believe, if I remember a previous committee meeting, we established that garages wouldn't be more than 400 square feet and that other outbuildings were not allowed. But I'm not sure about that. But I think that that's what that means, is that buildings other than a garage and carport are not allowed. That could be a separate sentence.
Okay, well, that needs to be readdressed then, because that's not quite what it says.
Well, it just says it in an awkward way, but
Yeah, well, maybe so, yeah. Okay,
so we will
okay, it's
note
green
that.
lighted.
Well, there's a double negative in there too.
Yeah, that's
Right.
right, that's right. Yeah.
It's homage to George Bush.
Yeah, as a semanticist, we object.
I'll check the original text and
Okay,
see whether or
all right.
not that's what it said.
Yeah,
I did not intentionally change that.
okay, all right. It's
Okay.
green light, green light. Okay, existing structures on a lot or a parcel to be used for a cottage cluster project. An existing building on the same lot at the time of proposed development of the cottage cluster may remain within the cottage cluster project area under the following conditions. Number one, the existing building may be non-conforming with respect to the requirements of this code. Number two, the existing building may be expanded up to a maximum of 900 square feet. Okay, a little grandfathering in there. Good. Okay,
There you go.
triplex and quadplex. I thought that's okay, dwellings. Permitted uses. Applicants shall determine that sufficient infrastructure is provided or will be provided upon submittal of a triplex or quadplex development application. Triplexes and quadplexes shall meet the development standards of the applicable base zone. Design structures. No new triplexes and quadplexes shall meet the design standards of this section. Entry orientation. At least one main entrance for each triplex and quadplex structure shall meet the following standards. So the standards below. Any detached structure for which more than 50% of its street-facing facade is separated from the street property line by a dwelling is exempted from meeting these standards. The entrance within shall be within 8 feet of the longest street-facing wall of the dwelling, and the entrance shall either A, face the street, B, be at an angle up to 45 degrees from the street, or C, open onto a porch that is at least 25 square feet in area, and that shall have at least one entrance facing the street or have a roof. Windows, minimum of 50%. Okay, that's what we just read, right?
Right, that's a diagram of what we, that's column to the right there.
Oh,
Okay,
yes, right. Okay, windows. A minimum of 15% of the area of all street-facing facades shall include windows or entrance doors, 15%. Facades separated from the street property line by a dwelling are exempted from meeting this standard. Okay. Street-facing facades. Garages, carports, off-street parking areas. Garages, carports, off-street parking areas shall not be located between a building and a public street other than an alley, except where they comply with the following standards. A garage, carport, or off-street parking is separated from the street property by a dwelling. Or B, combined width of all garages and outdoor on-site parking and maneuvering areas does not exceed a total of 50% of the street frontage. And note that driveways shall meet the minimum separation required by the Tillamook County Public Works Department. Conversions. Internal conversion of an existing detached family or single family dwelling or duplex to a triplex or to a quadruplex are permitted in the underlying zone is subject to the following standards.
And we don't have those.
And we don't have those. So we're gonna add language.
Yeah.
And I take no responsibility for that. Okay.
Okay, here's
You
a,
will when you vote for it.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
okay, here's some of
Okay.
of what they talked about.
Yeah.
That was big enough. I didn't reproduce it. And that's all about triplexes.
Okay, townhouses. All right, permitted uses. Applicants shall demonstrate that sufficient infrastructure is provided or will be provided upon submittal of a townhouse development application. Development standards. Townhouses shall meet the development standards of the applicable base zone with the following exceptions. A minimum lot width of each unit shall be 20 feet in all zones, with a minimum lot frontage along a public street of 20 feet. The minimum side yard setback for a common wall lot line where units are attached is 5 feet. The maximum density for a townhouse project shall exceed the density allowed by the base zone minimum lot size requirement, the BZMLSR. All townhouse projects shall be built as attached units. A maximum of 4 attached townhouses is allowed in a townhouse project. Areas owned in common shall be maintained by a homeowners association or other legal entity. A homeowners association may also be responsible for exterior building maintenance. A copy of any applicable covenants, restrictions, and conditions shall be recorded in the Tillamook County Clerk's Office and provided to the jurisdiction prior to issuance of a building permit. Design standards. New townhouses shall meet the design standards of this section. Entry orientation. The main entrance of each townhouse shall, A, the entrance shall be within 8 feet of the longest street facing wall of the dwelling unit. B, the entrance shall be one of the following. A, face the street. B, be at an angle up to 45 degrees from the street. C, face a common open area that is adjacent to the street and is abutted by dwellings on at least 2 sides. D, open onto a porch that is at least 25 feet in area, and that shall have at least one entrance facing the street or have a roof. Unit definition. Each townhouse shall include at least one of the following on at least one street-facing facade. A roof dormer, a minimum of 4 feet in width. B, a balcony, a minimum of 2 feet in depth and 4 feet in width, and accessible from an interior room. C, a bay window that extends from the facade, a minimum of 2 feet. D, an offset of a facade of a minimum of 2 feet in depth, either from the neighboring townhouse or within the facade of a single townhouse. D, A, B, C, D, E, an entryway that is recessed a minimum of 3 feet. E, a covered entryway with a minimum depth of 4 feet. And finally, a porch.
There we go.
Once again,
Balcony.
we didn't, that's a question that was left in the document.
Okay, yeah, the dimensions of the porch, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
G, all right. Balconies and bay windows may encroach into a required setback area.
And this whole thing, I just missed it. So this is an illustration of what you just said.
Yeah.
I-
Dormer, balcony, bay window, facade offset. The facade offset is just a wall, basically. Recessed entryway, yeah. Covered entryway, yeah. And a porch.
There you go.
And I don't know what this reference was hanging out, so I don't know what it meant, what it was meant to point to. So it says meet standards, whatever they are.
Okay, windows, 15% of the area of all street-facing facades on each individual unit shall include a window or an entrance door. Half of the window area in the door of an attached garage may count toward this standard. Driveway access and parking. Townhouses with frontage on a public street shall meet the following standards. Front gate standards, garages on the front facade of a townhouse, off-street parking in the front area, driveways in front of the townhouses are allowed if they meet the following standards. Each townhouse lot has a street frontage of 20 feet on the public street. Number two, a maximum of one driveway per lot is allowed that does not exceed 12 feet wide or 50% of the lot street frontage, whichever is greater. The garage width does not exceed 12 feet as measured from inside the garage door frame. Rear entry garage, following standards for driveways and parking areas for townhouse projects that have rear entry garages. A, off-street parking areas shall be accessed on the back facade or located in the rear yard. No off-street parking shall be allowed in the front yard or the side yard of a townhouse. A townhouse project that includes a corner lot shall take advantage from a single driveway approach on the side of the corner lot. Townhouse projects that do not include a corner lot shall consolidate access for all lots into a single driveway. The driveway and the approach are not allowed in areas directly between the front facade and the front lot line of any townhouse. A townhouse project that includes consolidated access or shared driveways shall grant access easements to allow normal vehicular access and emergency access. Townhouse projects in which all units take exclusive access from a rear alley are exempt from the compliance with the rear entry garage rules.
All right, ready for radio, Michael.
Oh, yeah. And I also have some excellent soap. And I expect everybody to buy my excellent soap.
All right, the ads are first thing that happens on a radio show.
It's soap. It's soap. Well, I'll just call it Port Orford Cedar soap. How's that?
Sounds good. Well,
All right.
thank you, Michael. And,
Okay. All right. Am I relieved?
Tom, are we going through the appendix? I guess.
I'm just going to show the basic. We don't need to read through them. They're basically what they had. I just took them in from the community plan.
Community plan, right?
So people, but this is a ready reference in case they want to see what these zones are and what they used to say.
So do we have questions from the audience about any of those sections in particular, or about your neighborhood and any questions like that? We have Sarah here, so she could address some questions that might have been raised, but I don't see any in the chat. So
Where are the hands to raise? I'm looking on the bottom here.
well, we can hear you, Joni. So if you
Okay.
have a question, go for it.
Well, it's a general question. When you discussed the fact that these are not county finance funded and they will all be relegated to private developers, what is to prevent these units from becoming second homeowner rentals rather than residences for the people that they are designed to offer?
Well, it says middle housing. It doesn't say workforce housing or low-cost housing or anything like that. It's to build more housing, but how it's developed and who develops it is that doesn't manage that.
Well,
Others may have more educated.
And Sarah should be able to address that, I should think.
Yeah. Sarah? Maybe she stepped away.
No, I'm here.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thought I put you to sleep there, Sarah.
No, I was taking copious notes. I had a lengthy meeting with the consulting team today.
Oh,
So looking forward to returning to the committee with updates following that meeting this morning. So in terms, Joni, that's a fair question. And a lot of people ask that question. There's two pieces to this work. The piece that we are currently involved with is creating the path. This is the path to offer additional options for housing in our unincorporated communities. There is nothing about this part that commits wholly these housing types if and when they are built to affordable workforce or low income housing. The part to incentivize these units in the future to be built to meet the needs of our working community and families will be the incentives that go with those. So we already have a property tax exemption program. We have the Housing Production Strategies Fund. And so that piece is the next step after the path is created, which is what we're doing now to incentivize housing for workforce and affordable housing. In terms of short-term rentals, since there's a lot of concerns about that as well. So there's been a lot of work done to the short-term rental licensing program and the ordinance to limit the number of licenses a person can have ownership interest in dwelling in structures where there's more than one dwelling unit. There's limitations on how many of those dwelling units could be licensed as short-term rentals. So that work we've done at the front end to limit and minimize middle housing from becoming licensed short-term rental properties.
Okay, I know that we've had such an earnest plea to hang on to 21% as the limit for the community for STRs. And I had this vision of looking at these house plans, which are phenomenal, and imagining people who are cash rich coming in to buy them who don't live here and don't want to work here. And I had a hope that these would be implemented for ownership or at least lease for years for the medical professionals and hostesses and hospitality workers and landscapers and teachers and the other young people who want to move here because they work here.
Yeah.
So it's just, if there's no, I realize part of the Open Housing Act of probably 1964 that there's no real restriction on that.
Mhm.
So I'm
Can I
not.
ask a question? Joni, may I interrupt
Yeah.
for a moment?
Barry, there's also a question in the chat. So are you going to ask a question related to Joni's?
Well, no, I want to make a statement actually.
Okay,
And I
because
don't
Lori
have
had
I can't
Lori had
figure
a
out how to
question
raise
in
my
this
hand.
chat. Raising the hand
hands.
doesn't work very well because we can't see everybody who's in there. But if you put a question in the chat, then we'll call on you.
Okay.
Lori has two questions. One of them relates to townhomes. It says second in the chat. We discussed requiring a setback at the sides of the property and the front and the back. And as I read this draft, I didn't see that reflected. I saw it. It definitely says a minimum side yard setback, but I didn't see anywhere where it said that there had to be a setback at the front and back of the property. I just wanted to confirm that that's embedded somewhere in the language.
So Lori, I can answer that question. So yes,
Okay.
so when you see the drafts of the Neskowin RR zone, the Neskowin R1 and R3 zone, the setbacks that currently apply to structures will also apply, including those front and rear yards. So when I get those drafts to you, you're going to see where that will be clear that those setbacks are still required and applied.
Okay. And then the second question I had was the committee discussed under triplexes and quadruplexes that they needed to be attached. And the document, when it's talking about the entries on, I think, well, anyway, under the entries on the quadruplexes in the, I think it's on page 8, it mentions any detached structure, blah, blah, blah. And we said that there would be no detached triplexes or quadruplexes because it conflicted with the standards that we were talking about with the cottage clusters.
Mhm.
And so I'm wondering if
So
that needs to be clarified. It's on
it would-
page 8, the second sentence from the bottom.
Shall demonstrate.
Well,
Oh,
and
wait a
that's
minute.
something
This is
again.
on, I'm sorry, that's on the old draft.
Triplex and
Oh,
quadruplex.
I may have fixed that. It's
Mhm.
possible.
I think this is, Guy, just to add to Lori's question, we were concerned even under the definition of what a multifamily dwelling is, that it's the possibility of a 4-unit or even 5-unit multifamily dwelling could be detached and not come under the cottage cluster standards. So I think we also, along with the quadruplex being only detached or only attached common wall, then any multifamily dwelling in the R1 or R3 zones be either attached or come under the cottage cluster standards.
right. And Guy, again, as you and I had talked about, a cottage cluster is a specific use. So it's going to be listed separately from the plexes and the uses permitted outright.
Right.
So it becomes its actual own separate use with its own separate set of standards, which will differentiate and distinguish it from plexes. So I think that's a really valid point you brought up earlier.
So it may be, and I know this could be, there's going to be a lot of working it through with the county comp plan and definitions. And I think one of the definitions of the multifamily dwelling definition, we need to make sure it doesn't conflict with some of the standards we're hoping to have with things like a cottage cluster.
So we specifically put in that in that definition that it doesn't, we are specifically excluding that.
Yeah.
Right.
So
But
it does not apply.
In Neskowin.
Right.
Yeah.
I think it's something that may come up more broadly in the county. But
Yeah, and our plan is to adopt the state code definitions for all of that to be consistent. So probably, Guy, that's something we'll talk about Thursday night at the work session.
Right.
So
So,
Sarah,
Ran, if I could just take a quick second, real fast. There are questions in the chat, and I'm kind of waiting for conversation to die down. So I just want to let Barry and Heidi know. And if someone does have a question, you can just say I have a question, or you can put the question in the chat. So I'm going to be quiet now because Linda's the subcommittee member and let you comment.
Thank you, Nancy. So is that point completed?
Yes, for me.
I think so.
wanted to, so before we get to the questions, I want to be clear here because Sarah, we had a robust discussion, and I'm not sure this is on the county's radar. Putting on a private developer hat with all the best intentions of these various categories, our concern was that everyone will build multifamily and no one will build cottage clusters because the standards are looser and the requirements are smaller. And so I just want to, I'm not asking a question, I'm just putting that on the table because that's the crux of this discussion.
I appreciate that, Lynn. I think once those drafts are produced so the structure of the ordinance can actually be seen, it will help alleviate those concerns.
Okay.
And I should have an ETA on those for the Neskowin subcommittee by Thursday morning. And I'll send you an email to let you know when those are coming. The Planning Commission is not going to see any of the drafts at the work session Thursday night because it's just an introductory into what they can expect. And we're going to talk about things like definitions. So the CAC is going to see the drafts before the Planning Commission does. And I'll be able to tell you what the ETA on that is probably Thursday morning.
Great. Thank you.
Thanks, sir.
So,
So,
Barry, excuse me.
and let me just mention, when I notice that there's a question, I'm putting a like on it. So yeah, go for it, Rand.
Okay, thank you. I'll try and
Sorry.
keep up. No, thanks for your help. Barry, shall I read your question? Or did you have something else besides the short-term rental question?
No, what I was, seems like, so if there's 100 new units and we have a limit of 21%, 21 of those units could be short-term rentals.
No.
Does our short-term rental percentage requirement stay intact and relate to all this new building stuff?
Yes, we've already met our 21%, and there, as I believe, there are no permits available till someone.
Well, it's based on the number of units available. So
No.
I know there's some units, some places in my neighborhood that are on the waiting list, for example. So if these new cluster housing units get developed, let's say there's 10 added to the entire inventory of available housing, that would increase the availability of two more rentals, two more short-term rentals to be allowed. And who gets those first ones? The ones on the waiting list already, or the new ones that just came online?
Randall, would you like me to answer that?
Please answer that.
Okay. Very good questions. Okay, so first and foremost, the number of licenses allowed for Neskowin is a hard number. So it's not a percentage. So even if additional dwelling units come online, that hard number will not change, and it can only change by board order. The second piece of that is that there is a wait list because all of the licenses are currently held, and the wait list is first come, first serve. So when a license becomes available, the first person on the wait list is eligible to apply for the license. So anybody new that would apply, which you have your dwelling, you have to have a certificate of occupancy before you can apply, would go at the bottom of the list and move up.
Does that work for you, Barry? You understand?
So I'm using this Windows laptop, and I'm not used to using the Windows laptop. So I couldn't respond immediately. So let me get this straight. We have a limited number of rentals now. How many is that? And how many possible units do we have available now that are either occupied or unoccupied in Neskowin? What percent of the hard number is that of the total availability of housing?
Oh,
you're on mute,
Sarah, you're on mute. Oh, on and off.
There. Okay. I got a new computer too, and it's touchy. Okay, so Barry, I can't tell you about the potential build out and the percentage. What I can tell you is that Neskowin, let me get to the board order and I'll tell you exactly how many licenses are allowed in the community. Okay.
Gotta be 60 something, right? If there's
No, it's
three.
about 180,
Neskowin,
about 185, 190, something like that.
Neskowin has a maximum of 191 licenses, which I believe is roughly around 20% of the existing number of dwelling units. And that includes the condos, all of the condos.
Okay. Okay, so that number can't be increased unless the Board of Commissioners, I guess it is,
That's
says
correct.
you can go up to 250 today.
That's correct. There would be public hearings. They would have to amend that board order to increase the number of licenses available.
Great.
That's a hard number.
Okay.
So
All right.
Heidi
It is what it
Heidenreich
is.
has a question.
Yes, if I'm reading this correctly, with 10-foot setbacks and you have a 4-foot porch or overhang, you could conceivably have multifamily homes 6 feet apart. And I'm wondering whether the fire department has reviewed that, because it would seem very difficult to put out a fire and not have it go into the next house.
Thank you, Heidi. That's an excellent question as well. So the setbacks that are proposed are largely the setbacks that already exist for structures in Neskowin. Minimum through building codes, fire and life safety codes, minimum separation between structures is usually 6 feet. So we have gone beyond that with the 10-foot requirement.
Okay, I do have a second question. I'm in Sahalee South and we have our own CC&Rs. Do CC&Rs supersede this document?
Yes, they do. The only
Okay.
thing is that new subdivisions and developments coming in would not be able to prohibit middle housing through CC&Rs. So existing subdivisions and developments with CC&Rs, no one is asking them or requiring that those CC&Rs be changed, but we would have to look through the development process for a new subdivision or development to make sure the CC&Rs did not prohibit middle housing.
I see. Thank you.
Barbara Triplett has 2 questions.
Yeah, the first question was just answered about the importance of CC&Rs in this discussion. My second question has to do with, as I was reading the document this afternoon, it occurred to me that I have no idea how many lots in Neskowin, in the various neighborhoods, would be suitable for building any of these structures. Do we have any information about that at all to decide whether or not this is going to overwhelm the neighborhoods or it's just going to be a minor component of our existing neighborhoods?
Yeah, that's a great question too. So Barbara, I have done a GIS analysis and I am finalizing compiling that data to share with the community and the Planning Commission. What I can tell you is that there are several lots that are substandard in size and do not meet the minimum lot size requirements that currently exist. Those lots, especially the lots, the vacant lots in the village area of Neskowin, generally, if they're substandard, they're not eligible for 3 or 4 units or a cottage cluster. They would still be allowed to build a single family dwelling, which is what is allowed by right, and could actually do 2 units on those properties, provided they meet setbacks, building height, parking, etc. The majority of the larger parcels that we have found that really are suitable for fourplexes, cottage clusters, etc., are largely going to fall east of the highway. And so we do have a map, and I will have that information in greater detail for everyone here soon.
Thank you.
Sarah, could
So,
you add, Sarah,
oh,
could
go
you
ahead.
add to that answer? If in fact somebody wanted to combine 2 lots for the purpose of putting some multifamily housing dwelling on, how would the county respond if I came and I had 2 5,000 square foot lots, some of the undersized lots in the old village, and I wanted to combine them to do that? Is that a process that the county would facilitate?
So that can happen today,
Right.
right? So we do see that. Depending on where the property is, it may require some sort of a vacation process of the lot lines, or it could be an affidavit of contiguous properties and combining them through the tax and assessor's office.
Right.
So that is a practice that is already in place. Typically, we see it for larger estate homes. People buy several substandard size lots and put them together so that they have the area they want to build the size of home they want. So it definitely is possible.
Right. I just wanted Barb to know that even though we do have some of these substandard, I mean, we have many lots, especially in the old village, that don't meet even the minimum standard. There are a lot of 5,000 square foot lots and less. But you could see a developer or somebody coming in and buying a couple of small cottages next to each other, tearing them down and building multifamily housing on by combining two lots. I mean, it's just a possibility that's out there. And I think we have to think about what the future may bring, what 20 years from now might look like.
Okay.
So I have a question. I'm on the list.
Yes, you are.
I have a question for, I guess, Sarah. How do the current requirements for having building on a lot relate to the middle housing in terms of priority, in terms of limits on water or sewage or that kind of thing? Who takes precedence if there's a kind of a conflict?
So there, under zoning and land use, there is no precedent, right? So that's why the language, and you guys saw that on one of Tom's very well put together slides earlier tonight, where it talks about confirmation of sufficient infrastructure. And that would be for any development, those water and sewer availability letters are required. And so that is the test, but there is no prioritization of one type of dwelling unit over another.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. So those are the questions that we have from the audience. And
There's the first question was, can we put a statement in there that this is about doesn't mandate building, just allows it? The first highlighted sentence in there.
okay.
Does that satisfy the question? I think it was, I'm not sure who did it.
Did I miss that?
That was
No, it was before we started getting formal about questions.
Oh, okay.
right. And so you were typing it in as we were having a conversation, right?
Yes,
So
I was doing it behind your back in front of your face.
Was that Joni's
I
question?
caught it. I caught it.
I think Joni had a question like that.
This document describes the zoning changes that make the development of middle housing possible. But, that's it.
My
Oh, it was
question,
Lynn. That was Lynn. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
my question was just about what's to prevent a private developer from selling all of these units, multi-family units, single units, cottages, townhouses to other developers who rent them out. That's all.
Right, but
When they're
as we explained, there is no, right now, the incentives are not a part of this part of the program. So that question actually applies to after we've had these gone through the county and had these things approved, there are a variety of programs that are incentives to help working families and such get
okay.
to this, but that depends on a developer using those incentives and such. So you really, I think we answered it before that this is the way to make it possible to understand what would happen to some degree. But the development of it and who develops it and what their incentives are is not this part. It's the second part.
Okay.
And Barry has a question.
All right. Barry. I can read it.
Takes a moment to find the unmute thing.
Yeah.
So, so that lots in a developer comes, buys up a bunch, not a bunch, several cottages in the village that are torn down and to be replaced with a multi-unit middle housing. So the weight of that thing is going to be pretty heavy. And I'm assuming that some sort of geological survey would have to be conducted to determine how deep the foundation has to be before it can be stable. And what's the elevation there, like 10 feet, maybe 13 in a high spot? It's pretty low. I don't know what the policies are or what the regulations are for building in the village. But if it tends to have to be on stilts or something to raise it above the floodplain, would there be height restrictions required to keep it below a certain height? I mean, they'll definitely be blocking somebody's view.
Yeah, the height restrictions that exist currently would apply. And we've, for the 900 square foot units, I believe that it's 17 feet and it's single story. On the other buildings, Sarah or someone else will have to address, I think it's 35 feet is the adjusted height for a multi-story. But
Thank you, Randall. That is correct. So Barry, if a geologic hazard report is required, it's still required. To your point about weight, pilings, etc. If a floodplain development permit and elevation requirements apply, they still apply. In terms of the height, what currently applies will continue to apply. So even people building a larger single family dwelling, they have to elevate the structure to meet flood, but it can't exceed the height maximum of the zone. So all of those things still apply. And I think the other thing, Randall, that we haven't mentioned tonight is that the provisions and the density restrictions of the Neskowin Coastal Hazards Overlay Zone also still continue to apply. So Barry, they're going to have to make it fit.
Okay, thank you.
Right, so we do have to get, we should probably put that in there, Guy. That's one of your offspring, the coastal.
Unless you want to quote it right now, we've got to vote on it tonight.
Right. So where would that fit best?
The coastal hazard overlay?
Yeah, the fact that all these must still address, I mean, maybe that's just a fact, and so, but.
Well, I think as Sarah said several times that
yeah,
all the current standards still exist. We're not.
Yeah. They all say
and the coastal hazards overlay zone is one of those standards.
Okay. All right.
It's implicit in
it's implicit.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. Well, if we don't have further questions, we have to get Gary back to help us poll the voters.
I'm here. You actually, are you ready for the poll?
Let me just give a little preface there, just to reiterate what I'm going to change. We're voting on this changed version, but I'm going to make a clean version, and I outline what I'm going to change here. So keep that in mind when you're voting.
Okay.
So I will save this version as version 2, and we will actually send version 3, which will be a cleanup of it.
Okay. Thank you for the clarification. Anyone have any questions about that aspect?
The only question I have is this question of explaining what Sarah explained to us, which is not in the document, which is that this is building a path to creating middle housing.
I
the,
think I did that.
He did. He
Did-
said, what
did
is?
I miss that when I read it? Where is
No,
that?
Tom added,
I added that as we were talking.
this
that's
document describes the zoning changes that will make the development of middle housing possible,
And
period.
could we add something about this is the first step in this process? Because it
The
won't make
zoning-
it possible financially.
No, it's not. It's just having to do with zoning changes.
Right.
That's the only subject of this document.
Right.
Okay.
This is the
Okay.
toolbox from which someone can work. How they develop it and how they incentivize it is the next
Okay.
step.
All right. Thank you.
Sure.
And I have a comment.
Yes.
I just want to say kudos to the subcommittee. You have done an amazing job in a very short amount of time with tough deadlines to meet, and recognizing that this is an early version and that there could be later changes. I just have to commend you guys for all the hard work that you've been doing, and having to kind of stop the general community plan midstream to do this middle housing was tough. And I just want to say kudos to you guys.
Thank you, Nancy.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Can I add one thing, Graham, before we vote? We're voting on recommendations to the county on what we believe works best for Neskowin in the middle housing area. The county is going to go through it with their consultants, the legal, whatever, compare it to state, if make sure we're in line with the state, all kinds of things. And when it's finally submitted to the planning commission, and I don't quite know, we'll probably find out on Thursday night about how that's going to work with each individual unincorporated area. When it goes to the planning commission, people will have another opportunity, because there will be hearings on this. And so if there are things that people come up with later that want to see changed, or they think the county has made some changes in regards to our own recommendations, there's still a process left. One before the planning commission, and then eventually even before the board of county commissioners. So this, in the sense that Lynn's right, this is kind of the first step in the process of approval, but it's not our last time as a community to have input into what eventually gets approved.
So I have a comment. Thanks, Guy, for saying that, because that was going to be my question. So we're going to vote on this, and then what happens? And so you kind of walked us through that really nicely. Yeah. So thank you.
Okay. So without further ado, and for people who have a second person to vote, are we going to accept that another person could be right next to the other person and have two votes? Because some of us are one screen and two people. Is that legit?
Yes.
So as long as they show their screen that there are two people, one can vote through the through Zoom, and the other can kind of raise their hand and say how they're voting. Absolutely.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so Gary, let's start the mill grinding here. Okay.
So is the subcommittee making this motion?
Yes, the subcommittee would like to make a motion to regarding a question to vote to approve the NCAC middle housing recommendations to the County Community Development Office in its current amended form.
Right. And no second is needed because it's coming from the committees. Okay.
A second is needed?
No, not with the committee. So
okay.
But this would be discussion.
Yeah, any discussion before we vote?
Dogs are not eligible, right?
The committee is eligible, yes. Oh, dogs?
Because I got 3 extra votes here. My feet.
I'm trying.
Okay. I don't hear any discussion, so we'll call we'll call for the vote then.
Oh, here's my video. Okay, where am I?
There, and see, and next to Lori.
Well, how come it's, I
you
keep
didn't-
clicking, I've clicked it 3 times. Okay, here we are. There's Lainey. She's voting. You thumbs up or thumbs down? Thumbs up. Okay, thank you.
So am I counted?
You have been counted. You may go back to your activities.
Barbara, you said that there was someone with you.
Bill? Or-
Bill available? Yes, well, yeah, he has his own name on his own screen there.
Okay. Great.
Okay. How are our numbers here?
So
16.
Randall, we have everyone who is logged in online. So it's 14 of 15. It's not including me because for whatever reason, the person conducting the poll is not able to do the online poll. So I will, by voice vote, say yes.
Okay.
Okay, and Laney, and does that make 15 or 16? 16, 15? I believe it's 16 if there are 14 in this group, and then we had second participants. Well, no, because Bill is there and Barbara's there.
It
There's
says
16 showing as participants minus Sarah. So plus
but
there were
plus Laney.
2 other. Yeah, plus Laney.
Laney is the other, so that
Mhm.
makes, I
15.
think,
16.
16. Okay.
16. Mhm.
Okay, are you ready to see the online votes?
Sure.
yes.
Okay, we're ending the online poll.
Actually, it'd probably be 17 with Gary.
Okay.
Oh, 100%. Yay.
Shocking.
Yeah. Gary's in the participants. He just can't vote. So
Okay.
yeah.
All right.
Yay.
Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone, for, and Michael, thank you for reading the document. Tom, thank you for preparing this in a very functional form, which it also isn't always in, and for broadcast purposes. Thank you for that adjustment. So the portion of the subcommittee's work this evening is done, I believe, and I turn it back to Mark, the
Okay.
chair.
Okay. Well, let's see, Sarah, thank you. Thank you, NCAC subcommittee. Thank you, Tom. Thank you, Michael. So that's from Sarah Absher. So with that, our business this evening is done, and I'm going to adjourn the meeting. The vote was taken and it was approved 100%. So it'll be 100% approval, all yeses. And so it'll move on to the county. I would just say that the work of the steering committee for the community plan and middle housing, that's going to continue to go on, and folks are welcome to join those meetings. They're listed on the upcoming events of the NCAC website, and so everybody's welcome to join those and comment as you would like at those meetings. They'll be ongoing here. So with that, I'll go ahead and adjourn the meeting. Looks like it's 8:29 p.m. So meeting adjourned, and good evening, everyone.
Thank you,
Thank you.
everyone. Good evening.